Wind picking up a little bit. Snow falling off and on throughout the day. About 36 degrees now. So not too cold here in the Nut and Fancy Knife Clinic. Hey TMPers, this is of course Nut and Fancy hosting a little thing we call the Nut and Fancy Project since 2008. I'm in the Nut and Fancy Knife Clinic. I have some intentions to do some blade testing throughout this evening on into the night. Stay tuned, you'll see those tabletop reviews coming, you'll see that footage. This video though really isn't about knives, it's not about guns, it's not about adventuring. It's about my relationships with the manufacturers here in the Nut and Fancy Project. And I think you will find the information I give on this video informative, perhaps interesting, perhaps even fascinating, because I'm going to impart to you the things I've learned doing the Nut and Fancy Project for about 5 years now. When I started TNP, I was really naive. I didn't know anything about the industry really. I shouldn't say I didn't know anything about the industry. I knew all about the gear. I had all my philosophies of use nailed down pretty much. I've refined them and tuned them up as TNP has progressed. You see that on the tabletop reviews. You see it in adventures like Allie and I are doing right now. But what I really didn't know is the insider information on manufacturers and all the politics involved, the money exchanges and all that, which is in any industry. And if I would have thought about it, I probably would have said, yeah, the outdoor industry, the gun industry, the knife industry is the same way. So here I come in 2008, I do this thing called TNP. It takes off, becomes moderately popular, moderately I stress. And I become an independent voice in a lot of different arenas. And I think that's how the Nut and Fancy Project is so different. Is that it came out of nowhere, it was fresh, it was unique, it was definitely independent. And the industry really didn't have a voice like TNP before, and it came out of the empowering social media. Now that was in early 2008. Granted, the Nut and Fancy Project as a channel, I should say Nut and Fancy channel has been around since 2006, but I didn't really start doing TNP till 2008. So the industry didn't know what to think of me, and because I come out of non-traditional media, I'm not in magazine, I'm not in radio, I'm not in television, and yet when a review comes out, it's a very durable review. A Nut and Fancy review, and for that matter, I have all kinds of other channels, blogs, and websites that follow the same type of formula: outdoor gear, tactical gear, knife gear, and that's all great. And so a lot of what I'm going to say in certain parts will apply to all of us in the social media category. But what I know is TNP, my experiences, and that's where I'm going to try to concentrate on. I guess I can take this off. Don't need that. GoPro 3. So, a durable product. I do a review. If I'm personally excited about the gear item, you will know it. You're going to know it in the review. I'm going to give it a really high likability scale. I'll make a case, very logical, as to why I think that thing rocks. That benefits the manufacturers. It's almost like a free advertisement, some people said, but it's not advertisement because it's consumer based and it has nothing to do with the manufacturer. And a lot of people had a hard time wrapping their heads around that. Early on in the Nut and Fancy Project, I'd read the comments go, well, you're just an advertisement. I'm like, I'm not, because I have nothing to do with that. The manufacturer. I'm independent, and I've maintained that independence very well, actually, throughout the entire portion of TNP that I've done to this point. But it is valuable to the manufacturer, and thus was born something called, and this came from my viewers, not me, but the Nut and Fancy effect. In other words, I review something very well, it results in increased sales. Not a little bit, but a lot. At least that's the way it's been in the past, in the last 5 years. Will it change in the future? Who knows? I don't know. The internet is the internet. It's always changing. It's constantly evolving. Who knows how it's going to be in the future? But that's what happened. There were some manufacturers, and that's where the focus of this video is on again, that were very quick to pick up on the Nut and Fancy Project and what it was about and how valuable it was to them. I would say probably one of those, and I'll just use these as a case, would be actiontargets.com. They were a company that immediately recognized the Nut and Fancy effect, and they said, we need to take care of this audience. This is a valuable audience, and of course, why are they doing it? They want to make money. They want to make more sales. Thank heavens. There's nothing wrong with that, and you need to understand that You know, whether you're talking, you know, Mechanics, who makes these gloves, North Face, who makes a shell, you know, GoPro, they make this. Why are they doing it? They're making money. There's a right way to make money and a wrong way to make money. The wrong way is you do not deliver value. You don't deliver something that we need as a customer. You don't deliver customer service. You're dishonest with us as a customer, and you just don't care. You get so wrapped around the profit motive that you become unmoored from your purpose motive, as we've talked here in the Nut and Fancy project. So going back to ActionTarget.com, they don't go all the way back to 08, but they jumped on about 09 or something, I think, when I did the Evil Roy review. They got it. They got new media, as I've always called it. They got the Nut and Fancy project, and they said, this is cool. I mean, here we took the commercial division of ActionTarget.com, who was very small and actually the bastard stepchild of AT, and suddenly their sales just, because of you guys, the sales just went whoosh, cranking. What do I ask of the manufacturers when this happens? And you will find this interesting, I think. I don't ask for free stuff, okay? That's not what motivates me in the Nut and Fancy project. I love gear. I've got plenty of it, though. I had plenty of it when I started the Nut and Fancy project. I never needed more. It doesn't excite me in that level. What excites me is you guys getting hooked up. And so when AT took off, and again, we're just using this as a case study, I asked those guys, hey, take care of my audience. You know, I'll give you more reviews. I love your product, but you gotta, you know, I'm giving you a valuable publicity. Take care of my audience. Let's do a durable Nut and Fancy discount code. And they have. It's to this day, it's Nut and Fancy 15. Durable 15% off all ActionTarget.com products. That's how you do it. Durable. Now, some manufacturers will look at that and go, well, I don't want to give a durable code because anybody could use it and then it'll be spread all over the internet. I guess the answer to that, doing this for 5 years, is yes, that can happen. But there's some people that maybe for whatever reason, they don't want to use a Nut and Fancy 15 code because they don't watch TMP, they don't like TMP, they don't like me, and so by typing that code in, they don't want to support it. But I think by and large, it's been extremely successful for my audience, who my allegiance lays to, not the manufacturer, and then also for ActionTarget.com. So they provide an excellent product, whether you're talking, you know, the Evil Roy, the pistol racks, the steel plates, the IPSC targets, all those cool rimfire targets they got, and everyone's happy. They make some money, although I would say they blow out those targets for prices. I go, I don't know how you're making money on them sometimes, but they do. And so what I ask for my manufacturers in return is, I really like it if they can do a discount code, a durable discount code, not, and let me caveat that, because I've learned that they can't always do that because they have a dealership network. And if we roll in with TMP and we say, hey, we're going to give 20% off, 15% off, that may step on the toes of dealerships, and those people have to make money too, and I'm respectful of that. You'll see that come into play, at least in the last few years, in SHOT Show videos, and we talk about that a lot. So I don't expect them to, you know, tromp on their dealership network. In those cases, it may be a temporary discount code, direct from the manufacturer. A good example of that would be Troy Industries. To this day, you have a durable 10% discount code if you want to go buy a Troy Alpha Rail for your AR-15. Troy's another company who gets it. And I like it when they have that durable code because then it hooks you guys up. I also ask from the manufacturers in this process called the Nut and Fancy Project, me reviewing their products, and let's say for now, positively, is that they are grateful, they like it, and that I get feedback from them. That's just my personality. You know, if I come up here in the mountains and I spend, I don't know, a couple expeditions testing a knife, I do a review, I sell 1,000 blades, and I don't hear from the manufacturer, just a note, just a drop in note to TMP and say, hey dude, saw the review, thanks man. That's all I need. You'd be amazed how many times that does not happen. No, they didn't give me the blade. We buy it. Almost everything you see in the Nut and Fancy project with those advertising dollars here in YouTube, we buy. Getting back to the independent nature of TMP. Not all of it. Some of it will loan. Some of it will take on loan from the manufacturer directly. Some we'll get from the manufacturer, and if we like it, we'll buy it from them later on. Sometimes at a reduced cost, but that doesn't happen too often. And it's really important to understand that no matter where the item comes from, you're going to get the same review. Okay, getting back to what I expect from the manufacturer, I don't call the manufacturer and say, hey man, let's just take this. North Face. Hey, North Face, if you give me a shell, I'll go ahead and do a positive review for you, and then I'll sell some for you. You know, ha ha ha, shaking on the table. That's never happened here in the Nut and Fancy project. Never. I know for a fact, in other media sources, to include YouTube, that does happen a lot. I won't talk to those channels or to how everyone else does their business, because that's their business. It's not my business. But that's not how I run it here. I also expect a maturity level from the manufacturers. In other words, maybe on item A, I love it, and on item B, I don't love it. In fact, on item B, I rail on it, and I kill their sales on it. But a mature manufacturer will stick with me and be loyal to the Nut and Fancy project and not bail out on me. Another good example of that is Troy Industries. So I review the M14 M1A MCS chassis, and I didn't like it. It's too heavy, it's bulky, I don't see it really improving the weapon system. It tightened up groups a little bit, and so I pretty much railed on it. Does Troy Industries pull the discount code from Nut and Fancy? No. They kept it. They said, hey, rockin', man, you know, sorry you didn't like it, maybe next time. And that is how you do it. And I say that on camera because a lot of manufacturers don't get that. They'll huff and puff when I say something negative. And there have been instances here in the Nut and Fancy project where they've done it very publicly. They've gone out on forums and they've railed against me personally, calling me names, saying this, saying that. They, you know, he's an idiot. I mean, just like 7th grade stuff. Amazing. Amazing. I just cannot believe it. And so thus goes on the saga of the manufacturers. Every manufacturer is different. Every manufacturer has its quirks, its own culture, its people, and it's fascinating to me, but it's a lot of work keeping up with. I've made a lot of friends in the industry, in the gun industry, the knife industry, the backpacking industry. I know a lot of people, a lot of contacts. One thing that is a little bit disheartening to me as time goes on, as the years go on, is I lose those people. They'll stay at a company for a while and then they're gone. For instance, Jared Kermath at Action Target has been gone from there for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And I could go down all the manufacturers to include, you know, like Benchmade, Rob, he's gone. And now all those personal relationships I had built up, and we had those discount codes, we had, you know, a source for us to go and do a booth review with them, and I knew they were good on camera. I lose that. And that's been tough for me to deal with, because now I feel like I start from square one. Believe it or not, you'll roll in with a manufacturer, let's say SHOT Show for instance, and you'll say, hey, this is Nut and Fancy project. Some of them would go, what? Who are you? And I don't mean that in a way of, hey man, you should know what TNP is about and that, you know, I'm all that. But you should have an idea what's going on in social media. You should have an idea what's going on the internet. And so if I do a video on a SIG 226 and it gets, you know, I don't know, 500,000 views or something, you as a manufacturer should know that. And you should have someone assigned to your company that watches social media. That's their job. And so when someone comes in the booth, hey, we don't know you, but hang on, this is our guy. Oh yeah, I know who you are. We know what you've done. And then you have that relationship. If I was a company guy, I would have a social media person, new media person, as I've always called it. And that person's job would be to just keep tabs on what's going on, and public relations. Hey, thanks for the review. Or if I hated a review, hey, sorry you didn't like it. You know, maybe we're going to do some product improvements on it, and maybe later on we'll get you one, you know, loan it to you and you can do another review on it. I think that's wise. You'd be amazed at how many companies don't do that. They don't do it. They have no clue what's going on. So the saga continues with manufacturing relationships. I do like it when they drop a note. I do like it when there's a little bit of gratitude. And again, that's just a quirk of my personality for the work, the effort put in. And again, for me, that is enough. I really like it, again, if they do a durable discount code. And I like it if there's a stable relationship, or at least professional relationship at the company year after year. Because then it's not a project for me. Because if so-and-so leaves at this company, now I have to start from square one. Now I'm on the phone for hours trying to explain this, you know, who I am, what I'm doing, what my motives are. And I got to tell you, when that happens, it becomes tougher and tougher each year, because there's a lot of media sources, to include YouTube, a lot of it in YouTube, blogs and such, that are after free gear, that are after a quid pro quo review. So in other words, you give me this item and I'll give you a video on it and I'll sell it for you, but I want it for free. And so when I call up and they don't know who I am, they lump me into that category, and I almost hit a brick wall. It's like they don't even want to talk to me. So it's like, and I'm talking about when I want to get gear for loaning, a rifle, for instance. A good example of that would be, let's see, Smith & Wesson Shield. Put in a request several times to get Smith & Wesson Shield. Didn't want to buy it with TMP funds. We were low on funds at the time. I was like, hey, Shield. I put in like 3 different emails. Smith & Wesson, never heard back from them. And after emailing, phone calling, I just gave up. So you guys want a Smith & Wesson Shield review? I worked on it, but then I just, I wasn't like so stoked. I wanted to go out and get one. And that happens all the time. And when we go up to Tactical Solutions in Boise, Idaho, Keith Feely up there says all the time, is like, you can't believe it. It's like 2 or 3 calls a day. We'll roll in and they're expecting free merchandise. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I would like some free stuff, and in exchange, I'll give you a review for it. We don't work that way. I just don't. It's expensive not to work that way. I'm not going to lie to you. It's extremely expensive because, well, everything you're seeing right in front of the camera right now, everything you're going to see, TMP purchases. But the beauty of that is I'm not on a time schedule, so I can review it when and if I want. And we sell it if we don't want to keep it. And that happens all the time with everything. Outdoor gear, guns, knives. We're always selling. We're always buying. And then I just speak freely. If it sucks, I'll tell you it sucks. I have taken on loan from manufacturers things that I didn't like so much. Let me think if I give you an example. I'm not thinking of anything right off. Well, there's a CA-15 from Christensen Arms that was on loan from them directly, and then I shipped it back. And it was a great gun actually, but there's some negative things I said about it as well. I'll still do it, and even if I have to burn bridges doing that, I'll do that. In other words, if let's say I got a really expensive knife, we take it on loan, although I don't thrash on it, but I review it and then send it back. I'm going to speak my mind. The whole integrity of the Nut and Fancy project, and for myself personally, demands that. So you're going to get the straight skinny as I see it at that point in time. If I did the review, 2 years ago or 2 years in the future, you might get a different review just because of the experiences I have with the item, where I'm at philosophically in my systems. That's the deal. Occasionally in manufacturer relationships here in the Nut and Fancy project, I do have a manufacturer or, and this is really important, a supplier or seller that goes south on me. That for whatever reason, I become displeased with the way they're doing business. I usually learn about that through rumbling from TMPers. So they will contact us and they'll say, hey, by the way, this is a problem. A little bit of rumbling is always going to be there because no supplier is going to be perfect. If you take any of my knife suppliers, which currently are Cutlery Shop, Blade HQ, and NotJustKnives.com, and I might have some minor ones along the way. So none of them are going to be perfect all the time. They're always going to have ups and downs, just like all companies do. But when we chart those lines, where are they? Where are they for value? Where are they for pricing, customer service? And where are they for giving TMP prices whenever possible? If I plot those lines over the years and they're good, they continue to be promoted by me. You'll see them in annotation, you'll see them in the sidebar. And I always put them in annotation and I always put them in sidebar. I shouldn't say always, but usually, because if that relationship goes south for whatever reason, I will go back to those videos and yank them out. They're gone. It's a privilege to be in that video. It's free money for you. I'm bringing thousands of qualified and motivated buyers to your website. They trust the voice of the Nut and Fancy project. They should. And in return, I expect you to take care of them. Sometimes that goes south. And that there have been instances in the Nut and Fancy project early in the history where people took advantage of the audience and I wasn't pleased. And I tried to work with them, it didn't work. And so the big point you need to take away from this is if you see a dealer, a manufacturer, go away, you don't see a certain brand that you saw a lot before, there's a reason for it, and it's because that relationship went south. Either they were antagonistic to me to the point where I'm not going to give them any more publicity for free, putting money in their pockets when they're being immature and, just spiteful to the Nut and Fancy project for an honest review. or they're just being downright dishonest and they're stealing from you. And if that's the case, they're gone. They're gone. I'll find someone else. Now, if you go to my channel page on the right-hand side, those are the manufacturer links, and they come and go. They're updated every so often, and occasionally there's some outdated links there. But that's a good place to go to save money. If you see a manufacturer there listed month after month, year after year, they have it going on. They're doing something that I like. Now, we had a great SHOT Show promotional coupon with CRKT. It is Columbia River Knife and Tool. Really like those guys. The current dudes we did the booth review with, because those guys may move on to other companies, and so in 2015, 16, we may have a completely different relationship with CRKT. So that happens. It happens, you know, it's just cyclical, depending on the relationship and depending on the company. So it's a wild trip, man, that I've taken. I've learned so much. I'm not naive anymore. You know, here in 2013, early 2013, I'm not naive at all. If there's one thing I'm so glad that I've hung on to tenaciously in the Nut and Fancy project, that would be the independent nature of it. That I'm not tied to any manufacturer. And team peers who have followed me for a long time really get that. They know that I'll speak very honestly, brutally honest actually, offensively honest to some. But that's just what I am. That's the kind of video I want. That's the kind of product information I value. And that's what TNP is all about. And I will follow my sword on that. So if I piss this manufacturer off, that manufacturer, I'm sorry, but not really. That's just the way it is. You don't really get that from what I know in pretty much most other media sources. And I don't care if you're talking YouTube, blogs, internet sites, print, radio, television shows. You don't. There are some secret deals being cut. I know that for a fact. I'm privy to it at this point. For instance, if you see a particular gun on the cover of AR-15 magazine, chances are they have paid, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 to that publication to have that promotion. You know, I think it's funny that a manufacturer, here's Dogness right here. Say hi, dog. I love her. There's manufacturers out there that are slowly catching on what a waste of money that is, because let's say I spend $30,000 on the cover of a magazine. It's on the newsstand for, let's say, 2 months. Then what? Then where does it go? Well, it's gone. You know, it's usually, you can get back issues in certain places, but it's gone. It's off the newsstand. People forget about it. It's thrown away. It'll go on bookshelves. There you go. You might have a PDF version online somewhere, but at the manufacturer's website, for instance, that probably is there, but it's pretty much gone. Whereas if you get a Google searchable Nut and Fancy review, it's out there forever. So someone goes into Google or their favorite search engine, they type out Rock River Arms Elite Operator 2 AR-15. Here comes all kinds of information, and listed amongst that will be the Nut and Fancy review. So it goes on and on. New media blows old media out of the water. There is no comparison, including television. Television show comes out. Let's say Top Shot is covering this gun or that gun. I remember that Top Shot was covering Arsenal AKs, and Walker English calls me up and he goes, "Dude, we're on Top Shot," and I was like, "Cool, that's awesome, congratulations." We talked a little bit, caught up, and then we hung up, and I just was laughing because I was like, that's cool for this month. But then what happens? I mean, no one will remember that. It just won't, it'll be gone. It'll vanish into thin air. There you go. And, I could get into all types of the intrigue of the manufacturer relationships, but the purpose of this video is to kind of show you how I approach it. And that's all I'm talking about. I'm not trying to stir up controversy or make anybody look bad or generate bad blood at all. Not at all. In fact, I value my manufacturer relationships, and I think they are a critical part of me being able to expand the universe of the Nut and Fancy project, especially on really high ticket items where we don't have the money to buy it. We can get it directly from the manufacturer on loan. That's awesome. That is happening, I would say, right these days, maybe 20% of the time. The other 80% of the time, it's either loaned locally or purchased outright. You know, is that the best way to do it? Who knows? I don't know. That's just the way I do it. I learn every year I go along. Every year. I do have favorite manufacturers. Those are the ones that are motivated in supporting you, my audience. They have a durable discount code. They are grateful for the coverage. They're excited. I dig the people that work with them. A good example of that would be Chad Burdett, Action Target. Awesome dude. You know, Matt Skutnik, who used to be at Troy Industries, now he's with Smith & Wesson. He shot with us in Operation Red Skies. Chad, what's Chad's last name? Oh my gosh, Chad Enos from Keltec. Love that dude. He's awesome. He'll come out and shoot with us next week. Maybe Matt will be out there too. So these are personal friends, and it's really immaterial who they work with. I mean, Chad's with Keltec now, and a lot of people see the friendship he has with the Nut and Fancy Project. They go, "Whoa, you're in the back pocket of Keltec, aren't you?" No. Have you even watched the dang reviews? I mean, I rail on stuff that Keltec does. I'm very honest about it. But when they get something right, which they do more often than not, and I like covering that. They're an American company. They're an American success story. And if TMP is part of getting the word out on that, I say all the more power to it. And that's good. So I do have relationships, friendships within industry. They're cool, but they change over time. And some people, you know, go away and they go to other manufacturers. And then some, I don't know. I honestly don't know what happens. You know, I mentioned on a recent video about Victorinox, we were going to do a special edition cadet pocket knife, which I have right here, by the way. And, you know, they just said flat out no. You know, we wanted to do a special coloration TMP serial numbered cadet pocket knife in Victorinox Europe through Becky Spalov. Said, no, not even. I was shocked. I was shocked, you know, after giving them so much airtime, and I love their products. But so what? You know, so freaking what? I just blow it off and keep on going. And in a lot of ways, I just think it's funny. I think it's funny that TMP has become such a voice in the industry. It's just so funny. And because it's so, how do I say this? It is so out of left field. I mean, it just came out of nowhere, and people think it's this huge driving force when all it really is me. Is a dude and my crew members and a black female Labrador dog eating some unidentified material behind the camera right now. I don't even know what she's eating. To me, it's funny, and that's how I look at it. I don't take myself too seriously. What I take seriously is serving my audience, you guys, to give you an entertaining show that's real, that has values behind that, whether we're on, and you see that, you feel that, when we're on an expedition, an adventure, you'll see realness. You'll see it in a tabletop review. It's just, dog, are you eating crap? Oh my gosh, sick. She's eating elk poo. I am not even kidding you. Look at this. That is what she was eating. Gross. You are sick. You are nasty. Eating elk poo. Like I said, it's a real show. I cannot believe you're doing that, dog. Ugh. Gross. That's why I don't want you licking my face. That is why I don't want you licking my face. Are you that hungry you gotta eat poo? That is embarrassing, dog. Oh my gosh, I'm totally leaving that in too. Oh my gosh. Now, speaking of discount codes, and I'm gonna send manufacturers to this video when I have a new relationship, say please watch that because it's kind of some history of what's gone down. I like it when they have a durable discount code. For instance, we have worked with some suppliers in the past, and they do a discount code for my viewers, and then lo and behold, I hear complaints. Hey, the discount code's not working. So here we go again. I have another project to do. Got to make phone calls, got to figure out who I'm talking to, why'd the discount code drop out? Oh, it only is for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Are you kidding me? How about 2 months minimum? 2 months minimum, preferably durable. Blue Force Gear gets it, durable 10. You know, you go to the channel page, that is a durable 10% discount code. And honestly, to this point, that I require that. If I roll and do a booth review, do a factory visit, I'm like, dudes, it's got to be a durable thing. I mean, either it works or it doesn't. I'm giving you a lot of publicity with my subscribers. You have a great product, and all I'm asking in return is not free product, nothing for me. Hook up my viewers. That's what motivates me. And then if I get great feedback from you guys, and you guys are stoked, say, hey man, we're so glad you're doing this. You know, it's getting me more gear. We did that Kelty pack through Amron International, the MAP 3500. That was a great promotion. We blew that sucker out. It was a multi-cam pack for 95 bucks or something. Awesome quality. I did a tabletop review. Amron stepped up to the plate. Granted, it was limited time only. I would have liked it to be permanent. I did drive for that. It didn't work out. So the more subscribers I have, the more views on the videos I have, the more I'm able to roll into manufacturers and get you guys good gear. Totally. You know, and that's cool. And get your systems rounded out. That's one of the tenets of the Nut and Fancy project, is you are working on your systems. Whether you're a law enforcement officer, you're a military guy, you're a responsible civilian, you have an outdoor backpacking system, you have a weaponry system, you have a WROL system. It takes money. It takes money and research to do it right, and this is Headquarters Central for that. Has been since 2008. Along the way, I need the manufacturers. I mean, thank heavens we have them. I mean, all the great knives, Spyderco, Benchmade, Kershaw, the smaller manufacturers, Leatherman, Phoenix flashlight, 4.7's flashlight, Technical Gear, you know, Kelty, REI stuff, MSR, all the stuff I review on camera. Thank heavens we have companies like this. They have to make money to stay in business. They don't make money, they don't stay in business. That's a fact of life. There's a good way to make money and a bad way to make money, and that's what we talked about already. There's probably a bunch of other stuff. I had a note, some notes written down, all the stuff I wanted to say on this manufacturer relationship video. If I forget something and it's like super, super important, I'll come back and annotate it during the video. Where am I at time-wise? I don't even know. I gotta get to work. Me and Allie, eating poo up here. She, not me. Dog. I cannot believe she was eating elk droppings. That is so nasty. Signing off in the mountains, working for you, as I try to do here in the Nut and Fancy project. See you later.